Welcome to our Line Opinion panelists for the week. We're happy to be joined in person by former New Mexico State Senator Dede Feldman. She's right there. Andy Lyman is across the table. He is staff writer at the Santa Fe Reporter. And Merritt Allen is back with us at Vox Optima Public Relations. Thank you all for being here. Now we start this week with the influence of lobbying in the state legislature. You all know the historic restaurant El Farol in Santa Fe, great place. High-end New Mexico three-course meals, private flamenco shows. It's an experience like no other in the state's capital city, and if you were a member of the House Commerce and Economic Development Committee during this year's session, one of the state's army of lobbyists would have picked up the tab for the entire evening. That's according to a story published in the Albuquerque Journal last week revealing lobbyists and their employers spent about $285,000 during this year's 60-day session. Now, the list includes the National Rifle Association, the Pharmaceutical Care Management Association, Ski New Mexico, and the Animal Protection Voters Lobbyist Group as well. Quite the variety there. But it doesn't even begin to paint the full picture. With more detailed filings required by lobbyists in May, we'll find out. And Senator, when you consider the goals the governor set at the beginning of the session and then look at what passed and what didn't, what sway did lobbying, it's hard to pin this down, but what sway did it have in this year's session in your gut? Was it greater than your memory? Was it something beyond this year, about normal? What was your sense of it?
Well, $285,000 is a little bit lower than the usual amount that is spent during a legislative session. I wouldn't be surprised when the May report is in if it'll be like $400,000. Okay. But we're just coming out of COVID and the lobbyists are just getting warmed up.
Right.
But that said, I think they still had a lot of influence, particularly the oil and gas lobbyists this year, that are out in force anytime there is a threatened regulation or enforcement and there was several bills this year that would have changed the antiquated, in my point of view, system of royalties for oil and gas and also regulation for an enforcement of the methane rule. So the oil and gas industry, very powerful. They field maybe 100 lobbyists. Wow. That's almost a one-to-one on, and it's not just the big companies. It's the drillers, it's the independents, it's the gas stations, and so they had an effect on killing a lot of environmental legislation this year. And of course, you had the alcohol lobbyists this year too, who were very effective in killing a reasonable alcohol tax, which is also long overdue. So
let me ask you, let me kind of kick across the table to Andy here for a quick point. Andy, one of the things that folks might find interesting, New Mexico has more than 600 registered lobbyists. Interesting, we're bouncing numbers around. But it only requires them to report spending if it exceeds $500, which seems to have been an okay threshold maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. But clearly we've got a lot more money being spent now. Is our laws behind the finances here?
I guess it could be. Yeah. I think it all sorts of, I guess it doesn't really matter where you put that threshold. Sure. There's always going to be sort of, lobbyists know how to everyone that's been up at the legislature for years knows how to sort of maneuver those things. So it could be lower, but I'm sure that if it's lower at some point, we're going to say, hey, wait a minute, we're still missing out on these other things, right? You can sort of nickel and dime things as much as you want.
That's right. Merritt, Mexico has a long history, as you know, of backroom lobbying. Come on now. In 2015, the Center for Public Integrity gave the state an F grade. As a reminder, folks, for our lobbying disclosure. And this year, 2 bills were introduced, as the Senator mentioned. Senate Bill 218 would have required lobbyists to disclose what specific pieces of legislation they're lobbying for or against. What is the matter with that?
I have no problem with that.
Right.
Exactly, and I don't know that lobbyists are particularly against that, except we're just not great at paperwork in this state anyway. It's that's a level of fidelity we're not really into. And I want to go back though and note, on a $10 billion budget, $285,000 doesn't seem like that much.
Okay.
That seems kind of like small stakes in what we're looking at. So I'm not wildly upset about that. And just the nature of having lobbyists register is a form of regulation. I mean, it's not like, it's a little different than the CEO of a company taking someone out.
Right.
And that could be interpreted as a direct sort of bribe, perhaps. I mean, at least this is some way of formalizing the process. And certainly any citizen can go in the roundhouse and go talk to their legislator.
That's right.
It's just the complexity of legislation and the process and how everything works. You know, this is a way to get an expert, someone who understands the process, someone who understands who's on what committee, how they lean, a real expert in the process to go do that. I mean, I don't think it's wrong for someone who is an expert in the process to ask them to put more documentation into what bills they're supporting, and I think this is all absolutely fair and reasonable.
Right.
And in many states, particularly in the Midwest, you can't even give a gift. You can't take someone out for dinner.
right.
I mean, they've gone a lot farther than this. So I think this is an important and not a controversial step.
What do you think, Senator? What did you make of the, and again, not to pick on any particular group, it's their right to lobby, it's our system, so this is not a negative when I say these things, but $28,000 worth of ski passes from Ski New Mexico, that's a nonprofit trade group, given to the governor and all 112 legislators. What does that do? Does Ski New Mexico have a problem that needs some kind of policy fix that I'm unaware of? Why do we fet these people this way? I don't understand it.
I mean, I was always puzzled by that too, because rarely is there an issue having to do with skiing
Right.
that comes before the legislature. But the lobbyists for the ski industry are also the lobbyists for 5 other industries. So they're buying a relationship, really. And that's what that's about. I have to say, I agree that $285,000 doesn't seem like that much in expenditures. But remember, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what lobbyists spend on campaign contributions.
That's the other story.
Campaign contributions is where the real money is.
That's right.
And where the real influence is for lobbyists. We do, incidentally, have a GIFT Act in New Mexico. It was passed in 2007, but it's still pretty generous. You have a limit of, or a restricted donor, what they call a restricted donor, can give no more than $250 worth of gifts to a individual employee of the state, but in 1 year. But in aggregate, they can give $1,000.
Oh, wow.
$1,000 per person is
pretty
the
nice
limit
gifts out
for
there for $1,000.
a restricted donor.
Interesting. Let me make a point here. New Mexico In Focus political correspondent Gwyneth Dolan spoke with a co-sponsor of that mentioned Senate Bill 217, that's State Senator Greg Schmedes, during the session, and she asked him about a concern we've heard that it will be too difficult to report those answers in a timely and efficient manner.
It would help legislators know where the special interest is. Is it out of state? Is it in state? Which industries are pushing it? Which industries are against it? And it would allow the public to know. It's not difficult. The Secretary of State's office already has all this software to track all of our financial things and all those matters. So it's really not too much of a lift, I don't think.
Mary, I got to ask you, after hearing that response and seeing the bipartisan co-sponsors on these bills, what's driving the opposition here? I don't understand what's going on, because Mr. Schmedes makes a good point. It's not difficult. The Secretary of State's office already has all the software to track all these finances. He makes the ultimate point.
And it's no more work for the legislators.
Right.
So of course, why would they oppose it?
Exactly.
I think it's there is not a great history of transparency in our legislature.
That's right.
Legislature, I should say. Misspoke there. And just trying to get some transparency into ethics transactions, as we saw last year. Transparency into the redistricting process. There's some old and wrong traditions in our legislature that need to change. And I think it's just changing the way we do business and becoming truly transparent. I've said this before. When I hear oftentimes a New Mexico politician talking about transparency, I know immediately whatever they're talking about will never see the light of freaking day.
Exactly right. Let me ask you, Andy, about this House Bill 5. I'll tell you what it is. Would have updated the state's Governmental Folks Conduct Act, specifying sexual acts could not be traded in exchange for a vote or other official favors. The House passed the bill, but interestingly, it never got a hearing in the Senate Judiciary. It's so bizarre to me. You know, in theory, this bill would have helped both legislators and lobbyists feel safer. What happened there? Why?
Well, a couple things. I'm just surprised that that's a thing that we have to explain to lawmakers of what not to do. But that Senate Judiciary Committee gets a lot of heat, and sometimes rightfully so, that things get stalled there. There was a number of bills on a variety of different topics that got stalled there. But also sometimes you have to look at how long it took to get to that Judiciary Committee. The chairman, Joe Cervantes, is always pretty quick to say, I got this 10 days before the session was over. I had a list of bills that came in before. He's also not one to, necessarily do favors for the governor, let's say. So, I think that you could probably criticize him for not picking this up, but if it's not a priority for him and it came in, I think it was 10 days before the session was over, then sometimes that's the way it works.
Interesting wrinkle, Senator, is that Senator Daniel Ivey Soto sits on the board of Senate Judiciary Committee. He was accused last year, of course, sexually harassing and assaulting a lobbyist. I got to wonder if this thing was drugged slow so Senator Ivey Soto didn't have to face all this again. What your thoughts on that? I'm interested.
Well, that bill, I think, was mischaracterized by the media and also by the sponsors to be about sexual harassment rather than what it really was, which was an overhaul of the Governmental Conduct Act. That's not quite so sexy. Right. And so maybe it wouldn't garner so much support, but it was important in the wake of a court decision that came down last year, which basically said the Governmental Conduct Act was basically a suggestion and could not be enforced without certain changes. And so these were the certain changes, and it's really unfortunate that they did not get passed. And perhaps it was because the bill had been mischaracterized, and there was a reluctance on the part of the committee to hear it for that reason.
That's fair.
Or perhaps it's because of what Andy's saying, the general backlog.
Right. And that's probably part of it as well. We'll have to wait until the next time around. Thanks to our line opinion panel. We'll be back in a little over 10 minutes for another discussion on oil and gas regulations as the EPA announces millions in fines over methane pollution.